and click list. And now we're going to execute our second API call. So live chat ID, as you can probably guess, this is where we're going to paste the live chat ID that we just copied from the other call. In part, we're going to choose snippet again. And page token, I'm going to talk about that in a bit. First, go back to your live stream and add a message. So I'm just going to say whatever. And when I go back here, and I execute the call, I should be able to see the messages that I just typed after I've authenticated myself. Here on the right, I can see the 200, which means this was executed successfully. Total results 1, there's only one message, results per page 1. And now I can see the messages that I just sent. And I can tell because inside text message details and message text, I can see what I just typed. Here's the interesting thing. If I make this exact same call again, if I have added another message, so if I say second message, I would get both of them. That's kind of inefficient because you might only want to get the messages that you haven't fetched yet. So here we want to copy something called the next page token. And that's going to allow us to use pagination. Inside the response, find the next page token and copy it down. And now, if we make this call again, we can put our next page token inside page token, and that will allow us to fetch the messages from basically from the ones that we fetched beforehand. So we're kind of going to the next page of results, and that will allow us to prevent duplication. So when I execute that, what I should get back in the response is only one message. That is the one message that was posted since the last time I made the fetch call. And just like that, I can see here, second message. Cool. And the next thing we're going to do is insert a message. So find insert message on the left. This one's a little trickier because you kind of have to know the structure of it. So part, we're going to put snippets, and in the request body, there's a certain structure that it wants. So in here, we are going to put, what was it again? It's going to be snippets, and I believe live chat ID. We're going to put the live chat ID that we just copied down here. Once you have live chat ID, insert type, and for type we'll put text message event, and we'll put text message details, message text, let's just put hello world. Once we execute it, we should see a 200, but just to make sure, let's actually go to our live chat, and we should see the hello world that was posted programmatically. Now we're just about ready to write some code, but we want to first register our app because otherwise our API calls aren't going to work. Let's open up a new tab and go to the developer console, which is console.developers.google.com. And let's register a new app. So you can see here I already have mine, but just to walk you through the process, let's make a new one. So here we can go to new project. I'm just gonna call this one YouTube demo. Create. Once you have your app selected, you wanna enable APIs and services. So click that on the top and find YouTube API v3. Enable it. Then you'll wanna set up some credentials. And you can do that by going to the button here on the right, create credentials. For which API are you using, click YouTube API v3. Where will be calling the API from? Web server. I'm going to move myself to the right now. Where will be calling the web server? What data will we be accessing? User data. And we click this. And let's just call this YouTube demo. Authorize JavaScript origins. Don't worry about this one because we won't be making API calls from a client. We'll be making them from a server. But we do need a redirect URI. Let's put HTTP :// localhost 3000 and create OAuth client, blah, blah, blah. We can continue on this screen. Oh, sorry. Let's put YouTube demo here. We'll continue. We don't need to worry about the consent screen here. Client ID is important, but we'll also need the client secret. And we can download it here, or if we go back to our credentials and click edit, we can see our client ID and our client secret. Both of these are important, so make sure you copy them down into a note or somewhere safe because we're going to use them in a bit. Before we get into writing code, the very last thing, I think it's important to understand why this client ID and this client secret and this redirect URI stuff is necessary. And in order to understand that, we have to understand OAuth 2.0. And OAuth 2.0 is a protocol that we're using in order to authenticate ourselves when we're using the YouTube API. If you've ever used an app that asked you to sign in with Google or sign in with Facebook or sign in with GitHub, then you're already familiar with OAuth 2.0. And now you're going to be using it yourself for your own app. And the process kind of works something like this. I have a little bit of a diagram here. You have your app and you have Google's servers. What first happens is a user gets redirected from your app to Google servers in order to log in and allow certain permissions. Imagine something like, do you want to allow Johnny's app to access your email or information or contacts or calendar or whatever it is? You accept or you don't. Once you accept, then your as Google server sends you back to the app along with an authorization code inside your query string. The app then uses that authorization code to request access tokens from Google. And Google then responds with that access token, and that access token can then be used to make API requests in order to and then 5 happens a bunch of times, really as many times as you'll be making API requests to I don't know, look at someone's info or make posts or send messages on behalf of someone of the entire. And we're gonna make 3 files to begin with. One is server.js, where server will exist. Oh, sorry, touch YouTube service.js. And the other file we'll need is an index.html file that our server can serve, and that will allow us to kind of interact with the server using endpoints. So let's make just a index.html. In the index.html, we can just make a really basic HTML skeleton. So I'll just do I don't need any of this. I don't need any of this. What I do need inside, well, I don't need it, but just so we can see something, let's just put in H1. And we're gonna need 2 kinds of files, 2 different packages in order to make this project work. And these 2 projects are, oh, just left. Where was I? There we go. Inside of server.js, we're going to need Express.js and Google APIs. So let's install those using npm install -- save and Express and Google APIs. Then we can start working on our server. We'll just do const express equals require express, and we'll do const path equals require. Can't spell today. Which is built in. Const, and then const server equals express, and we'll do server get. So at the root route of the server, we just want to serve our index.html. So we have rec, the request, we have the response. We use the arrow function in order to, in the response, we want to return res send file path join their name index.html. We'll put a slash in front, semicolon, and then we'll just make sure the server is listening. Listen 3000. And then once it's listening, we just want to put a console log to make sure that our server is okay. So we'll just do console, oh wow, console log, server is ready. We'll save that, and let's just check to make sure things are okay. We'll do node server.js, and if we hop back to our browser and go to localhost 3000, we should see our H1. Okay, so far so good. We got our boilerplate down. Now we can set up the code that's going to allow for this authorization process to happen before we actually start using the API. And this is where we can start to use the YouTube service. And before we start writing function in the YouTube service, let's make sure we import it here so that we can have access to it. So we'll put const. Oh, this was meant to be here. Sorry, I'm getting an error. Equals require YouTube service. I'm going to save it, kill the server. I think when I installed npm install --save express Google APIs, I was expecting to see a package.json appear. Oh, I didn't. Wow. Okay, so big mistake. What I didn't do is I didn't initialize this as an npm project. And as a result, even though I put --save, no packages actually got saved. What I need to do is first initiate with npm init. And because I want to skip all the questions, I'll put --y. Then I should see a package.json, and now I can install my packages with npm install save express Google APIs. And just to make sure that that worked properly, I can go to the package.json and see that express and Google APIs are in there. Yeah, completely forgot about that. Okay, so server is listening, we have our packages, we're importing a YouTube service. Now we can start writing code inside that YouTube service. This one's gonna be a bit more than what we wrote before. So I'm gonna write it out and explain it as best as I can as I go. So we'll do const Google equal